Good morning. Our first panel this morning will be addressing access to food and issues, challenges with that access to food. And I wanted to introduce our panelists. We're very grateful to have them here. To my left is Cheryl Baker, and she is a Greenfield resident. She lives here with her husband, and their family gets by on seasonal work and disability. And because of the nature of the seasonal work that Cheryl does, she's not eligible for unemployment. So this creates a particular challenge. She can go into more detail on that. We also have Liz Buxton, who is the Director of Food Services for the Mohawk Trail Regional School District. We have Jay Lord, who is the founding director of the Just Roots Community Farm. And we have Dino Schnelly, who many of you recognize if you're involved in the Franklin County Resource Network, and he is the coordinator for the Center for Self-Reliance Food Pantry of Community Action. Our panelists this morning will be speaking for about 5 minutes each on the following questions. What are the current avenues for access to affordable, healthy foods in Franklin County? What challenges and opportunities exist for efforts to expand food security and improve food quality for lower income residents? And then the second question is, what can we advocate for that would make more and healthier choices easier, both for families and for local institutions and agencies? So, Cheryl, would you like to begin? Do you want to come up here or speak from your seat?
No, I'll speak.
Okay.
All right, yes. Hi, my name is Cheryl Baker, and like she said, I am a resident. I've been a resident of Franklin County for 12 years now. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. And as she said, my husband and I, we are very grateful for the SNAP program. We just got on it not too long ago, because even though my husband's disabled, we were told many times when I tried in the past that we weren't eligible for back then it was food stamps, because of my income. I used to work a full-time job during tax season where I ran my own office and worked 40 hours a week, and now I'm only working 6 weeks during tax season, so the rest of the year we have to live on my husband's disability, which is very, very hard. So I am thankful for the SNAP program, and I'd like to see it continue. And another program that I'm very thankful for in Greenfield is the Center for Self-Reliance, because we do use that. We have used that basically the whole 12 years that we've been in Franklin County. The only problem there, though, and I understand that they have to follow protocol, is I mean, you only get, like for my husband and I, we're only allowed 7 items a month. And you can't live on 7 items a month for food. But they do offer like the fruits and vegetables, which I'm thankful for the local farmers. Oh man, I am really nervous, I'm sorry.
No, you're doing great. Do you want a reminder about the, whoops.
Oops. And I mean, and it's not just me, it's other people are struggling also. We really need more programs to help families like ours. I mean, my husband and I are lucky we don't have children, at least not little children. Our children are grown up. But I can't even imagine what the families are going through that have the little children. I mean, I know I hear like in the schools and stuff that they have breakfasts and lunches for the kids, which is great. I just know our society needs more help for the low-income people. Because like I said, it's very hard out there. And some people look down on you when you have to get the SNAP program or go to a place like the Center for Self-Reliance. And you should, I mean, and so, you know, families really need that when they go there, and they shouldn't be looked upon, especially by our government. And they shouldn't threaten to cancel all these programs because we really need them. And I'll close with that.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. So I am a director of food services at Mohawk Trail Regional School System. So you're all immediately thinking chicken nuggets and French fries. I know. Not my program. I have tried. My background's not in school food service. I worked in restaurants. I worked for college in business and industry feeding. And after 20 years of doing that, decided that I'd had enough of the hours. And school food service is something I hadn't tried. So I applied and I got the job. And it's been a really eye-opening experience. Come to find out that there's still, the food that the commodity program is offering and the menus were eerily similar to the ones that I had when I was in elementary school in the 70s and high school in the 80s. It hadn't changed much. The recipes hadn't changed, the methodology hadn't changed. I was frankly shocked. Not a lot of fresh food at all was being used in the programs. I'm personally a big advocate of local, whole foods. And trying to bring that to the school lunch program has been an effort, quite a hard effort. I'll give you an instance now. You all know, I don't know if you're familiar with the school lunch program, but recently the regulations have changed, and we're offering more fresh fruits and vegetables in our programs, and the carbohydrate and protein servings have gone down a little bit. And so we started this program. Now, I'll give you a little backstory. In the 3 years that I've been in this, I've been moving towards this. So moving towards whole grains and fresh vegetables on our menus. And you know, we serve chicken nuggets very rarely, if ever. French fries maybe, and they baked, not fried, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. Knowing that, hearing that there would be changes that would help back our programs, that we were serving more fresh fruit and vegetables. So this year, with the new federal regulations, we switched and are following them to a T. And so at the high school open house this year, we had a kind of open forum with parents because some parents were very concerned their children were going home hungry. So we had an open discussion about this. And I found that the parents who already eat healthy at home, eat a lot of fruit and vegetables at home, their kids don't buy school lunch. Their parents pack them lunch. The kids that are going home hungry are the kids that are mostly in the free and reduced program because they're not used to eating that way at home. So when they get to school and they have a vegetable bar, all you can eat fruits and vegetables and grilled chicken, they don't want that. So they don't take it. So then they go home and tell their parents they're hungry. So what do we do about this? How can we help these kids develop a taste for local vegetables and fruits? And well, we've done a lot of programs, and we get a lot of fresh vegetables from the CDC. Great program. We're promoting healthier menus. Like one of our most favorite menus right now is a baked potato bar, where we use local potatoes from Hatfield and local broccoli from the CDC, and they make their own cheese sauce. So it's not from a can. And the kids are starting to really like it, and it's really enlightening to see the kids trying new things. We put things like edamame on the menu for the first time, and the first time through, the kids were, oh, I don't know about this, and then just try it, and more kids are trying it, and that's just so delightful to see. So one of the other things that we've discovered is that if the kids are involved in making that vegetable, so to speak, if it's in the curriculum where they do a garden piece, where they go out and they plant something, radishes, carrots, and then harvest them when they come back to school. If we put those vegetables on the menu, all those kids want to eat it because they invested in making that carrot. So they're excited, you know, and we've grown, at like our Heath School, we've grown purple carrots and parsnips and all these different colors, and the kids were just like, great, this is awesome, I want to eat this. Where, you know, a lot of times if I just put carrots on the menu, yeah, no thank you. So it's been quite interesting. But Another obstacle, I think, that especially for food, for schools, and especially for my district where we're really rural, is getting the food from the farmer to the schools. And then getting, once the food is at the schools, having the staff have the knowledge to prepare that food correctly. You know, it's one thing to open up a case of frozen peas and cook them. You know, it's another thing to get a thing of fresh broccoli and have to cut it up and cook it and not overcook it. And so the education for staff is another thing that, you know, would be a great asset to especially school lunch programs. So that's, you know, that's our struggles. It's really, I'm really excited when I see kids try things like quinoa. And like I said, the colored carrots. That was such a fascinating thing to watch these kids just eat them up, trays full of them, because they grew them. So, and that's all I have to say. On to you, Jay.
My name is Jay Lord, and I'm the director of Just Roots, which is a nonprofit organization in Greenfield that is hoping to improve the access for all to local foods. We're going to do this through a variety of programs, one of which is the Greenfield Community Farm, a 60-acre farm which is beginning to grow product in North Greenfield on the old Poor Farm, Greenfield Poor Farm. So we had a couple questions that we were asked to answer, and I thought I would just run through those. One of those was, what are our local current avenues for whole food for all? And the ones that I know about that are local are that we have Food for All gardens. We have them at the Just Roots Farm, where food is grown for the Center for Self-Reliance. We have them individuals growing like Ev Hatch, who also grows and contributes the produce. We have community gardens. We have community gardens at Pleasant Street. We have community gardens also at the farm. We have individual plots and institutional plots. We have tremendous generosity from the local farmers. At the end of the Greenfield Farmers Market, at the end of the day, I believe that a lot of the product that is left over is donated for distribution. We have great public food distributions like the Center for Self-Reliance. We have meal programs such as the Stone Soup Cafe on Saturdays. We have the terrific work of the Franklin County CDC in canning, freezing, and storage for institutional sales. And we have the wonderful institutional buying of, from Mohawk, from GCC, and from the University of Massachusetts, which I now believe purchases 27% of their food locally. And Bob Pure just told me that the GCC is purchasing 20%, so that's great movement. The greatest challenges that I see are education and price. Local food is very expensive in the short run, not in the long run, but in the short run, it's very expensive. The opportunities that I see for our local space, I'm sure that some of you are familiar with this, but during World War II in this country, we had victory gardens. And 20 million Americans had gardens, either on public land or in their backyards. And this country grew 40% of its vegetables in those gardens. There's no reason that that couldn't happen again. And in terms of food security, that is the most secure food we can have, that food in our backyard. The other opportunity is this really wonderful institutional buying that Mohawk is demonstrating and the power that has in the market. And then the other thing which the CDC is really working on and providing the point on is how do we improve our storage capacity for the very rich bounty that we have in the summertime. We have some of the best farmland in the country. We have a tremendous bounty, but a lot of it's hard to keep through the winter for local use. So we could have more freezer space, which is CDC is working on, more cold storage, more root storage, and one of our favorite programs that we're working towards is a local cannery. So we can have Franklin County's own soup. We can have stews, juices, baby food that can all use this extra product that's grown in the summer and store it for other use. So those are some of our opportunities. And the last piece that we were asked to comment on was policy or changes. And pardon me if all of you know this already, but it's so dear to my heart. I think that our agriculture is in a spiraling, reinforcing cycle. Our industrial agriculture uses more machines, fewer people, and more chemicals. The chemicals deplete the soil, the chemicals screw up the environment, and our food is losing its nutritional advantage. One apple, in order to get the same nutritional value from an apple that you would have eaten in 1950, you now have to eat 4 apples. The soil is depleted, the nutrients don't get up into the plant. So it seems to me that what we have to do, and what we as a state could do very provocatively, is to spend the money up front to save much more money in the long term. Because poor food leads to poor health, leads to a bad environment, and there are many studies that show that kids do not reach their full potential eating the traditional food that's being served in cafeterias. So what can we do? And I think the thing that we can do is we can put money in right now to support the pricing of local food so that it becomes more available, which will drive more demand, which will build more infrastructure, which will create more jobs, which will help the environment locally, and which in the long term will make food cheaper. But the only way we're going to be able to do that, and I don't know if in today's politics we're able to, but we have to make the investment now. We can't wait. We have to make sure that people have enough to eat. That's short term. But we also have to make sure that all of us have this resource available to us in the long term. So my hope would be is that somehow at the state level, we could figure out how to invest more money up front now. And specific programs, I don't know if this would work, but I would think that if institutions had some state money that they could buy that was dedicated for local food, and that formula was based, the more local food you bought, the more money you got. So that there was a incentive to get this local food, which will build the economy, which will build the soils, which will build the health of kids. The other thing I think we could do is that we could really support, and I think this would have to come on the state level, we could really support the Victory Garden concept by creating an instrument that's called a GPR, which is like an APR. An APR is an agricultural preservation restriction where farmers get money to keep their land and farms. I believe that somehow house owners should be rewarded for having a garden in their backyard. And I'm not sure how that can be done legally, but I don't know if you get $50 off your taxes. I don't know if you get, I don't know how it works, but somehow there's an instrument that promotes the use of gardens, and that towns should be rewarded for using public lands to create gardens. And the third is, I think the state should support a local cannery movement. Thank you. A cannery movement, I said.
Good morning. My name's Dino Schnelli. I'm the coordinator for the Center for Self-Reliance Food Pantry here in Greenfield. We also run a satellite program out in Shelburne Falls, the West County Emergency Food Pantry. We're both programs of community action. And just for the sake of full disclosure, I am also currently a member of the Board of Directors of the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. And I would just like to thank Holly and the Resource Network for picking this subject and this topic for us to think about and strategize around and really work on today, because it is really crucial and it's really central to a lot of the issues that all of us are working on, all of us are concerned about. And I just personally want to say that for someone who grew up in the Midwest and thought they lived in a farming area and a farm economy, that was nothing compared to the diversity and the intensity and the really flourishing of local agriculture here in the Pioneer Valley. And that just really is very exciting for me, because growing up, spending my summers on my uncle's dairy farm was probably part of the greatest memories in my early years. And just that the perspective that it gave me living on a farm in the summer was really a very different way of looking at the world for a kid who grew up in a blue-collar suburb of Cincinnati. So it's really a pleasure and a great opportunity to be in a place where there is so much diversity agriculturally, so much innovation, so much thinking outside the box in terms of what can we do in our community to make this a better place to live when it comes to the food we eat and the way we do things here. And I would say that the amount of locally grown produce, fruits, and vegetables that comes to programs like mine and Amy Clark's community meals programs and her pantry, I think that in the last several years we really have, as the amount of food that is produced in the valley increases, we also have been able to tap in through a number of sources, a number of resources, connecting with and networking with the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts, working with farmers and CISA, to be able to get an awful lot of that extra produce and vegetables from the field into agencies, programs, soups, kitchens, meal sites, those sorts of things. So that part is really, I think, we're really kind of leading the nation, I think, in a lot of ways in terms of building that network, making that infrastructure work, thinking about what do we do with these salad greens that aren't going to last the weekend, and finding ways to really rescue that food and make it a valuable resource for families in need. And I also want to emphasize that as being a member of the Food Bank Board, we realized that we as an agency haven't been able to provide the amount of food to agencies and programs here in Western Massachusetts because of so many variables, the changes in the cost of the rise in cost of food, the fuel program, the cost of rises in fuel, and the dramatic cuts that we continue to see on the federal level in terms of the USDA program. That's had a huge impact in the food bank's ability to support agencies and programs all across Western Massachusetts, which has, in my particular case, we got probably about 30,000 or 40,000 pounds less USDA product in the past year than we did the year before. And so that means that the average family that comes to me gets every visit, they lose maybe 8 or 10 pounds worth of food. And as Cheryl had pointed out so accurately, since people can only come once a month and they're limited in the amount of food that they can get, because I have to, when you're feeding 1,200 or 1,300 people a month, you have to set a limit. You can't just, as much as you'd like to, you can't give everything you have just to the first person who comes to the door. So it's a continual rationing process. And I would like to reiterate Liz's comments and perspective about how much of this process now is education. And the thing I would like to point to is last year, for some reason, it was a bumper year in the Pioneer Valley for celeriac, which is celery root. And so every year there's something, some fresh local produce or vegetable that the food bank gets pallets and pallets and pallets of, and they won't let you leave unless you take a couple of cases with you. So last year was, one year it was eggplant, but one year it was potatoes. They had potatoes coming out their ears. One year it was winter squash. But last year it seemed to be celeriac was the vegetable of choice at the food bank. So we came up with a couple of really simple recipes about one just cooking it, grating it and cooking it. What we did was we did taste testings of this. We would make a little celeriac salad, offer it to people, give them the recipe. And the other part of it was when someone, that rare person, would come in and go, "Oh, you've got celeriac," we'd say, "Tell us what you do with it." And so we would write down their recipe, and then we would share that. And so it was only through this process of educating, what do you do with this strange vegetable? How can you enjoy it? That we were able to really get people excited about using celeriac to the point that by the time December came around, people were literally coming in and saying, "So, do you think you're going to be getting in any more celeriac?" Which, for us is really exciting. Because I don't know about you folks, but when I was growing up as a kid, it was potatoes, carrots, green beans, and corn were the vegetables of choice. I would have, if you'd asked me when I was 12 years old what arugula or kale or chard was, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So it's this being able, number one, to educate people about what a food is, how you prepare it, make it interesting, make it simple. We distribute probably 40 or 50 different kinds of recipes for the food that we distribute through our program. A lot of it is around all of this really incredible fresh produce and vegetables that we get in from farmers and CSAs, and just the really generous amount of stuff that we got from Just Roots this year. So it's doing that education process and also keeping in mind that for at least a considerable number of my participants who come for help, their cooking facilities are pretty limited. Some people are just, working off of a 2-burner hot plate or, cooking a microwave. So there's lots of challenges about how you can help give people food that they're going to be able to use and people, food that's good for them. I mean, the upside is that all of this incredible produce and vegetables has much greater nutritional value. But it's the process of getting people into the idea of taking that celeriac and doing something with it to share it with their family. So there's that process. And the other process which just has come to light, the other piece of this that is a real challenge sometimes is the pipeline, the infrastructure that we have around donated food. Every program in meal site and food pantry would love to have more refrigerator and freezer space. Most of them would die for more shelf space. But in fact, we just got over close to 9,000 pounds of winter squash from Just Roots, and they are just gorgeous buttercup squash and butternut squash. And I promised Jay that we would get rid of all of it, but till I realized how much 9,000 pounds of winter squash is. So we're working on it, but the problem is I'm storing it in my basement. I don't have a refrigerator space to put, 7,500 cases, banana boxes full of winter squash. So some of them are starting to mold. And that's food I have to throw away now because I don't have the facilities to maintain this food properly. So it's the pipeline, it's the infrastructure, it's, as Jay says, what do we do with this incredible amount of healthy, nutritious bounty that we're really blessed with here. And for me, the exciting part is that we live in a place where people do think outside of the box, where there is innovation, where I think on the state level, to the credit of the gentleman sitting at the table in the middle of the room there is a sense of let's support innovation, let's try things, let's pilot new projects and programs to advance this notion of communities and areas being able to become more self-sufficient, more self-reliant, and building prosperity and security in our communities. So in terms of any specific programs I would support, I really have to reiterate totally that the only way, the best way, the single most efficient way of dealing with hunger in our communities is through SNAP. There's nothing that is more efficient, more appropriate, that you get more effective use of the money that you put into the program. And it makes people much more self-reliant for them to then have to come to my program. Someone has to come to my program once a month to get food, or goes to a meal site once a week to get a meal. And not only what people using food stamps does to our local economy. And if there's ways on the federal level that we can encourage, producers and marketers to increase their support and their use of locally produced food, I think that would be a large, large help. But again, I think it goes back, as Jay so aptly put it, to rethinking our infrastructure, how that works together, how the private sector and nonprofits work. The CDC has been, again, very instrumental in really making lots of really wonderful things happen in this community, and I look forward to, more of that happening. So I just want to thank all of you for being here today and helping us talk about this and put some light on this issue, because it's obviously extremely important, and I fear no matter what happens on Tuesday that it's going to be quite a while before things get better in this country, and we need, as a local community, to really focus on what we can do well and how we can make the lives of everybody in this community a little bit better. So thank you for being here.